Let me ask you something unusual. Have you ever noticed that the people who care about you the most sometimes step back at the very moment you wish they'd step in? It feels almost contradictory, like love should be a cushion, but instead it shows up as space, silence, or even tough boundaries. And yet, what if that space is not abandonment at all, but a profound sign of trust? What if real love doesn't always pull you out of the fire, but believes you can walk through it and come out stronger? Today, we're going to explore why those who truly love you may allow you to struggle, and why that difficult truth might be one of the greatest gifts you'll ever receive. To understand this, we need to begin with the one belief almost all of us grew up with, and why it may not be serving us anymore. Most of us were raised with a very particular understanding of what love looks like. We learned that if you really care about someone, you protect them, you shield them, you rush in when they're hurting, and you do whatever it takes to make the pain go away. This idea is so deeply embedded in our culture that we barely question it. When a child falls, we pick them up. When a friend is suffering, we want to fix it. When someone we love is struggling, our instinct is to intervene immediately. And on the surface, that sounds right. It sounds compassionate. It sounds like what a good person would do. But here's the thing. That instinct, as natural as it feels, doesn't always serve the person we're trying to help. In fact, sometimes it does the opposite. Sometimes by protecting someone from difficulty, we're actually preventing them from developing the very capabilities they need to thrive. We think we're being loving, but we're creating dependency. We think we're being kind, but we're limiting growth. I've seen this pattern play out in business, in engineering teams, in families, in friendships. People mean well. They genuinely want to help, but they confuse comfort with care. They confuse rescue with support. And over time, this creates relationships where one person is always the fixer and the other is always the one who needs fixing. That's not a partnership. That's not real love. That's something else entirely. Real love, the kind that actually serves someone's highest good, understands something crucial. It understands that struggle is not always the enemy. Suffering is not always something to be eliminated at all costs. Sometimes difficulty is the very thing that builds strength, that teaches lessons, that creates resilience. And when you truly love someone, you don't rob them of that opportunity. You trust them enough to let them face it. But to see this clearly, we need a deeper metaphor, one that reveals why struggle is sometimes essential, not optional. Think about a butterfly. You've probably heard the story before, but stay with me because I want to look at it from a slightly different angle. When a butterfly is ready to emerge from its cocoon, it has to push and strain and work incredibly hard to break free. That process looks painful. If you are watching it happen, your heart might go out to the creature. You might think, I'll help. I'll cut open the cocoon and make this easier. And if you did that, the butterfly would emerge, but it wouldn't be able to fly. Its wings would be weak and shriveled, and before long, it would die. Now, from an engineering standpoint, what's happening here is actually fascinating. The struggle to emerge isn't a design flaw, it's a feature. The effort required to push through that tight opening forces fluid from the butterfly's body into its wings. That's what gives them the structural integrity they need. Without that resistance, without that pressure, the system doesn't develop properly. The butterfly never becomes what it's supposed to be. Humans work the same way. We develop capacity through friction. We build strength through resistance. When life is too easy, when someone is always there to smooth the path, to solve the problems, to remove the obstacles, we don't develop the capabilities we need. We remain weak in ways we shouldn't be. We stay dependent when we should be autonomous. And the person who's always rescuing us, no matter how much they care, is unintentionally crippling us. I'm not saying people should suffer for no reason. I'm not advocating for cruelty or indifference. What I'm saying is that there's a difference between supporting someone and doing everything for them. There's a difference between believing in someone's capacity to handle a challenge and believing they're too fragile to face it. Real love understands that distinction. And if this is true in nature, it's just as true in relationships, especially with the people we love most dearly. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're a parent and your adult child keeps making the same mistakes over and over. Maybe they're in a relationship that's clearly harmful. Maybe they're stuck in a job that's destroying their confidence. Maybe they have a habit of overspending and then coming to you for money to bail them out. Every time they're in trouble, you help. You give them a place to stay. You lend them money, you offer advice. you comfort them, and then a few weeks or months later, the same pattern repeats. Now, you might think you're being a good parent, you're being there for them, you're showing love, but are you really helping? Or are you enabling a pattern that keeps them stuck? Are you providing just enough cushion that they never have to face the full weight of their own choices? Are you, in your compassion, preventing them from hitting the point where they finally say, "Enough, I need a change"? This is the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Sometimes the most compassionate response is to say, "I love you, and I can see you're struggling, but I can't keep participating in this cycle. When you're ready to make a real change, I'll support that, but I won't keep enabling what's hurting you. That's hard. That feels harsh. It doesn't match the image we've been sold of what love is supposed to look like, but it's real, it's honest, and it's what actually serves the other person's growth." The distinction I'm talking about here is the difference between helping and rescuing. Helping means supporting someone in doing what they need to do. Rescuing means doing it for them. Helping preserves dignity. Rescuing creates dependency. Helping says, "I believe you can handle this and I'll stand beside you while you do." Rescuing says, "You're not capable, so I'll take care of it for you." And the tricky part is that rescuing often feels better in the moment. It makes us feel needed. It makes us feel generous. It allows us to avoid the discomfort of watching someone we care about struggle. But in the long run, it weakens both people. The person being rescued never develops their own strength, and the rescuer becomes trapped in a role where their identity depends on someone else staying helpless. I've seen this in so many contexts. Parents who can't let their children struggle end up with adults who can't handle adversity. Friends who always bail each other out of trouble create relationships based on crisis rather than genuine connection. Partners who shield each other from every difficulty never build the resilience that comes from facing reality together. The person who truly loves you understands that you need room to grow. They understand that you need to face certain things on your own. Not because they don't care, but precisely because they do. They care more about your long-term development than about their own short-term comfort. They care more about who you're becoming than about looking like the hero who saved you. But this becomes even clearer when we zoom in on real-life situations where suffering is part of an unhealthy cycle. Think about someone stuck in a destructive relationship. They keep going back to someone who doesn't respect them, who causes them pain, who undermines their confidence. Every time they leave, they come to you in tears. You comfort them. You tell them everything will be okay. Maybe you even give them a place to stay. And then they go right back. This cycle repeats 5, 10, 20 times now. If you keep providing that comfort, if you keep being the safe landing every time they fall, are you actually helping them leave? Or are you making it just comfortable enough that they never have to fully confront what's happening? Are you unintentionally prolonging their suffering? Someone who truly loves this person might do something very different. They might say, "I see what's happening. I know this is painful, but I can't keep being part of this pattern. I won't be here to comfort you and then watch you go back. When you're ready to actually leave, when you're ready to do the hard work of building something better, I'll be here. But I can't participate in this anymore." That's not abandonment, that's a boundary. And boundaries, when they come from love, are one of the most powerful gifts you can offer someone. They create the conditions where real change becomes possible. This may sound harsh, but it's rooted in something deeper, personal responsibility. Here's a fundamental truth that I think we sometimes forget. Every person has to take responsibility for their own life, their own choices, their own growth. No one can do that work for someone else. You can't learn someone's lessons for them. You can't make their decisions. You can't force their transformation. And when you constantly intervene, when you keep rescuing, when you keep protecting someone from the natural consequences of their actions, you're actually preventing them from developing this essential capability. I've learned this the hard way in building companies. You can't build someone's competence by doing their job for them. You can mentor, you can guide, you can create conditions for growth, but ultimately they have to step into the challenge themselves. They have to struggle with the problem, make mistakes, figure things out. That's how capability develops. And if you keep jumping in to solve everything, you end up with people who can't function without you. That's not a team. That's a dependency structure. The same principle applies in relationships. Think about addiction for a moment. Anyone who's dealt with addiction, either personally or with someone they love, knows this painful reality. The person struggling won't change until they're ready, and often they won't be ready until the pain of continuing becomes greater than the pain of stopping. If you keep cushioning that pain, if you keep bailing them out, covering for them, making excuses, you're actually extending their suffering. You're keeping them trapped in the pattern you're trying to save them from. The person who truly loves someone dealing with addiction will set clear boundaries. They'll say, I love you, I see what's happening, but I won't give you money, I won't lie for you, I won't protect you from the consequences of your choices. When you're ready to get help, when you're ready to do the real work of recovery, I'll support that fully, but I won't enable your self-destruction. And this feels terrible. It feels like you're turning your back on someone in their darkest hour, but it's actually the only approach that has a chance of creating real change. Because what you're doing is removing the safety net that allows the destructive pattern to continue. You're saying, I believe you're strong enough to face this. I believe you're capable of making a different choice, and I care about you too much to participate in what's harming you. That's real love. It's not sentimental. It's not soft. It's clear and sometimes quite fierce. It says, I trust you enough to let you face the full reality of your situation. But sometimes suffering doesn't come from our choices. It comes from life itself. People get sick, relationships end, loved ones die, careers don't work out the way we hoped, bodies age, and abilities decline. These are simply facts of being human. And when you're going through one of these inevitable difficulties, especially at our stage of life, the person who truly loves you doesn't pretend it's not happening. They don't offer empty platitudes. They don't try to fix what can't be fixed. Instead, they sit with you in it. They acknowledge what you're feeling. They validate it. They let you know you're not alone. But they don't try to take it away. They understand that some suffering is sacred, some pain is necessary, some grief must be fully felt in order to be fully released. I think about this especially as we get older. Loss becomes more frequent. Bodies don't work the way they used to. Friends and partners pass away. And there's a cultural pressure to stay positive, to not dwell on difficulty, to move on quickly. But the person who truly loves you allows you to feel what you're feeling. They give you permission to be exactly where you are. They don't rush you through your grief. They don't tell you to look on the bright side when you're sitting in genuine darkness. They simply make themselves available. They hold space. They trust that you can handle your own experience, that you have the strength to move through it in your own time. This is a mature kind of love. It's the love of someone who understands that suffering isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's the teacher. Sometimes pain is the doorway to deeper wisdom. Still, there's an important boundary to remember because not all suffering should be left untouched. There's a crucial distinction we need to make here between crisis and pattern. A crisis requires immediate intervention. A pattern requires boundaries. These are not the same thing. If someone falls in a river and can't swim, you throw them a rope. That's a crisis. But if someone keeps walking into the river and then calling for help, something else is happening. That's a pattern. And continuing to rescue them every time doesn't actually help them. It enables a behavior that needs to change. The person who truly loves you can tell the difference. They respond appropriately to genuine emergencies. If you're in acute danger, if you truly can't help yourself, if you lack the resources or knowledge to handle a situation, they step in. I'm not advocating for some cold social Darwinism where we just let people drown. But they also recognize patterns. They see when the same situation keeps repeating, and they have the wisdom and the courage to not participate in those patterns anymore. Even when it's difficult, even when you might be angry with them, even when it would be easier to just keep doing what they've always done. This is where real strength shows up in love. Because allowing someone to face a pattern, allowing consequences to unfold, is often much harder than rushing in to fix things. It means having difficult conversations. It means setting boundaries and holding them. It means saying no when no is what's needed. It means refusing to participate in someone's self-destruction, even when they beg you to. And this leads to one of the most surprising forms of love, one many people don't recognize at first. When someone refuses to rescue you, when they step back and let you handle your own challenge, they're actually communicating something profound. They're saying, I believe in you. I believe you have what it takes to handle this. I believe you're stronger than you think you are. I trust your capacity to learn, to grow, to figure this out. That's a gift. It's the opposite of what constant rescuing communicates, which is essentially, you're too weak to handle this on your own. You need me to save you. You're not capable. Think about which message actually serves someone's growth. Think about which one honors their dignity and autonomy. Real love empowers, false love enslaves. Real love builds strength, false love creates dependency. Real love respects your capacity to handle your own life. False love seeks to control under the guise of caring. And sometimes real love has to stand back and watch you struggle, not because it doesn't care, but because it cares deeply about who you're becoming. It cares about your development over the long term, not just your comfort in this moment. I've been fortunate to have a few people in my life who love me this way, who didn't rescue me when things got hard, who believed I could figure things out even when I wasn't sure I could. And looking back, those were the relationships that actually helped me grow. The ones where I was always being rescued, those kept me small. But this kind of love takes inner strength, patience, and a willingness to hold discomfort. Most people can't do it. They get too uncomfortable watching someone they care about struggle. They need to be needed. They need to be the rescuer. They can't sit with the anxiety of not intervening. So they jump in, they fix, they smooth things over, and in doing so, they prevent the very growth that the struggle would have created. The person who truly loves you has done their own inner work. They've learned to distinguish between their own anxiety and what actually serves you. They can tolerate their own feelings of helplessness without turning them into ineffective action. They can be present without being intrusive, supportive without being controlling. This is what love looks like when it's been refined by wisdom. It's not sentimental. It's not about feeling good in the moment. It's about what actually serves your highest good over time. And sometimes that means stepping back. Sometimes that means allowing you to face exactly what you need to face, learn what you need to learn, grow in the ways you need to grow. There's a concept in some Eastern philosophies called skillful compassion. It recognizes that true compassion isn't just about making people feel better right now. It's about what actually serves them. And sometimes what serves someone is allowing them to experience difficulty, to face consequences, to learn through their own direct experience. The person who loves you with this kind of skillful compassion can hold two things at once. They can care deeply about your well-being and still let you face your own challenges. They can have tremendous empathy for your pain and still not rescue you from it. They can wish things were easier for you and still respect that easy isn't always what creates growth. This is rare. It's a very mature way of loving. But if you're fortunate enough to have someone in your life who loves you this way, you might not always appreciate it in the moment. You might sometimes wish they would just fix things, just make it easier, just take away the pain. But if you're paying attention, you'll notice something over time. You'll notice that you're becoming stronger, more capable, more resilient. You'll notice that you're learning to trust yourself. You'll notice that you're discovering resources within yourself that you didn't know existed. And you'll realize that you're growing in ways you wouldn't have if someone had always rescued you. This is the gift of being allowed to suffer. This is what true love offers you, not comfort at any cost, but the space to become who you're meant to become. Not rescue from reality, but support in facing it. Not protection from pain, but faith in your ability to move through it and emerge transformed. In the end, the freedom to grow through joy, pain, and everything in between is one of the greatest acts of love we can give or receive. So, if this perspective gave you something to think about, if it helped you see your relationships, your past, or even yourself a little differently, consider supporting this channel. Tap the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Tell me about a time when someone loved you enough to let you struggle, or when you had to make the hard choice to step back for someone else. Your story might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. And if the title brought you here, Why People Who Truly Love You Will Let You Suffer, I hope you leave with a deeper sense of why that difficult truth can also be incredibly freeing.